Bit of a mixed bag today, but I'm going to play a very quick clip from Nigel Farage at a debate on thousands of homes being built. Now, I don't know how many of you are experienced with buying property abroad, but in France, for instance, I've had a place in France, when housing development, a habitation they call it, when a habitation is going up, the builders have to put the drains and the roads, they have to put all the infrastructure in before the houses. They're not allowed to do anything else, and inspections are frequent, so you can't get away with, like, locally a housing developer has built, I think, about 55 homes, and he was supposed to put all new drains in, and he hasn't. He's tapped into old drains. You can't get away with it abroad because the planning laws are different. Now, Nigel brings a very good point up here in this debate because it just correlates with what I've just said. Just have a listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm here to support my geographical neighbour, the Honourable Member for Harwich and North Essex. He's absolutely right. It would be wholly irresponsible to commence the building of thousands of houses without knowing that a road is going to be completed. And so I'm here to support completely what he says, and I'm sure that constituents in all neighbouring constituencies would overwhelmingly agree. I just wonder whether ever, when these things are debated, be it here or in the main chamber, whether we ever really pause for a moment to understand what we've done, what both Conservative and Labour governments have done. A 10 million increase in the population in the last 20 years. The Office of National Statistics this morning suggesting that another 3 to 4 million will be added in the next few years. These are all problems of uncontrolled mass migration and the population explosion. I wonder whether many members level with their constituents about the causal factors here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm here to support my...
So, you can see how Nigel drew it right back round to the root cause of all our problems, which is uncontrolled immigration. Both parties completely responsible for this, because as it's continued, Labour haven't challenged it, and once Labour have got in, they've not done anything about it. President Trump is living proof that it can be done if there's a political will to do it. Now, what our Parliament is up against, even if Nigel Farage was the leader, number 10, with a president, he can make an executive decision, and he made 200, I think. He was working on those before he came to office, so they were good to go on the day. This man, he doesn't take time off. He lives and breathes the job. The trouble with Britain, we have to run it through our Parliament, and unless you declare a state of emergency, and even then the MPs have to be whipped to vote for the government, you can't just change legislation overnight. It has to be voted through, and it has to go through a second house. It has to go through the House of Lords. That's when that ping pong happens. So we're up against it with the system. It's a system that's been designed to safeguard us from tyranny. Now, obviously, for a period in time, it's worked, but we've had this drip feed socialism creep into our politics since they did away with Margaret Thatcher. We haven't had a Tory government, not a Conservative government, since Margaret Thatcher. They've all been pretty liberal, left-leaning, from Cameron with his big society to the useless and very dangerous, I think, Theresa May. Boris, the fake Brexiteer, who his heart wasn't really in it, he just wanted to be Prime Minister and sound like Churchill. Churchill on a bad hair day. Well, I suppose Churchill would have been glad of any bloody hair, wouldn't he? But you see what I'm saying, don't you? The thing that we will be up against, even if Nigel wins, is he'll have to get legislation through Parliament. That's why a big majority is key in the next election. The chances are he'll get a big majority because people are sick to death. If you can imagine, you've got the left and the right, so let's call us, people watching me, were the right. Not far right, just on the right. And then you've got the left, the hard left. They're hardcore. They're at it all the time. They never stop campaigning. They've got the media on the side. They've got journalists described as activists, actually in their own bios on Wikipedia. So they've got a grip of the media because it's all owned by the same 6 companies, which is a clear sign of communism anyway. Everybody, one huge corporation owning everything. And then you've got the right wing. And we're not very good at campaigning because we're pretty moderate. We just bumble along with each other, and whichever government comes in, we live with it. We're not happy with it, but we live with it. And so we sit where we sit. We're here because of apathy. Make no mistake about it. And I've been guilty of it myself because I didn't wake up and get active till 2015. My husband was awake before that, and he kept saying we're living in strange times. We're living in strange times. And I used to think, what? But I'm on with it now. And like anything else, if I decide to do something, I throw myself in it 110%. But moving forward, what we need the Reform Party, whether you like them or you don't, whether he supports Tommy Robinson or he doesn't, whether he said anything good or bad, it's irrelevant. You have to shelve that. And if you can't shelve that, don't expect to not live under communism, because it's coming. It's coming as sure as day comes before night. And the only thing that will stop it is getting someone into number 10 that will turn politics around. That's what we're looking for. It's happening in Europe, and it's happened in America. They're in a slightly better position because, as I say, presidents can make executive decisions, prime ministers can't. They've done it through Parliament and get it past a load of lefties. So the more he has on his side. The other thing that people worry about is any sort of amalgamation with the Tory party. Let's just clarify that, because this is just all smoke and mirrors. It's not an amalgamation with the Tory party. What Nigel Farage will want, he'll want living proof that if you are conservative, forget Tories, that's just a brand name. It's like calling your vacuum cleaner a Hoover. A Hoover's a brand name, technically. The Tories are a brand name, and they're not a very nice bunch. They're self-serving generally, and they haven't done anything conservative since Margaret Thatcher. So know the difference. There's a Tory party that has some Conservatives in. You can recognise them because they voted for Brexit. And unfortunately, if you notice, all the ones that voted for Brexit nicely got ousted for one reason or another, either out of a power position or out of the party altogether. Owen Paterson, for one. That was a set-up. He didn't do anything wrong. He was earning 100 grand a year from a company he was an advisor to. He was absolutely hot on fishing, and he understood what we needed to get back for fishing. And all of a sudden he's disgraced, isn't he? And yet Lee Anderson's earning 100 grand a year from GB News, and that's all right. So you've got to look, these are mercenary people in the Tory party. The whip keeps things in a bag, basically, to use at a given point. So if somebody's stepping out the line, they can unfold something that could either be embarrassing or lucrative, depends which route they choose. But that is available to them. That option to reel people in is available to them. So what we have moving forward here, we have an opportunity to change politics. That's the big thing. That's what we're looking for. It's happening in Canada. There's a good chance the Conservatives will win in Canada. And you mustn't confuse Tories with Conservatives. So when it says an amalgamation with the Tory party, that's the media again putting a spin on it, because they know you don't trust the Tories. So they'll say that Nigel's going to do an amalgamation with the Tories to put you off Nigel. That's what they're trying to do, like they're doing it with Trump. They'll tell you he's having meetings with Bill Gates. Of course he is. Bill Gates has got his finger in every pie. There's bound to be meetings, but you don't know how it's going. And the same thing with the Tory party. Would you have any problem with Suella Braverman joining Nigel Farage? I certainly wouldn't. Suella Braverman did her utmost in office when she was a minister, and she came up against the civil service. Don't forget Priti Patel, accused of bullying by the civil service. The civil service are the root cause. That and the media, they're the two strongest things against us, the people. The civil service and the media. The media controls what everybody thinks, and the civil service control what the politicians are capable of making a success. Because the civil service, if they don't want to implement an idea, if they want it to fail, they'll make it fail. They've got the capabilities if they wish. So you've got these two factions, the media and the civil service. The media's full to pieces on its own, because you can turn away from the media and people have got sick of it. Even people who don't listen to people like me have turned. My mother-in-law, she's 80 odd, she doesn't watch the news anymore. She stopped. She won't watch me, she hasn't got a bloody clue I do this. She won't turn to something like me. She's 80 odd, she just wants to live a time out. And then you've got to look at what makes people's lives up. If you've spent all your life in a humdrum job and you've just retired, or you're coming to tail end of your life, You don't want to be talking about stuff like this. It's miserable. You want to be going in your garden centre and having a cup of tea, sat in the sun and going to a cafe, seeing your grandkids. Of course they do. But they'll vote at some time because they won't want the kids to be brought up under this communism. There's a really, really mind-blowing article about what's happened to Norway. I've put it on my Twitter page. Lilani Dowding found it. Mind-blowing. Could affect us. I'll do a quick video on it later today. But it just shows you, it's amazing. Forget it's Norway and just look at how things unfold politically. It's quite fascinating. And I just thought I'd leave you with that. Nigel Farage and his party work as a collective. So whilst you see Rupert Lowe saying everything that you want to hear, and he does, says everything that I want to hear, that doesn't necessarily mean he'd get it done, because he'd have to get it through Parliament. Farage is more seasoned. He's been used to being around these people. He's been used to how they shuffle things around. So you need the balance. And it's no coincidence, and it's certainly not an accident, that Rupert Lowe is doing the heavy lifting on grooming gangs and immigration, because he's new. They can't tarnish him. What's the first thing that the left do as soon as Nigel mentions immigration? They bring up his past, how he's mentioned it when he was with UKIP, blah, 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 blah. That's what they're like. They're looking to stir it up, and they will try and put you off anything you believe in. You believe in reform, you believe in Trump, so they will try their level best to show you that they can't be trusted. And it's all propaganda, opinion-pieced, poor standard journalism, and that's why they're dying on their feet.